Good morning. I am going to give y'all a second to make sure that my audio is working. So if y'all could let me know for sure that that's working. If I could get a yes. Waiting for anybody to tell me the audio is working. All right. Thank you, Miss Julie. Okay, so my name is Amanda Robinson, and this is FIN-formative Assessments, and we're going to be going over different formative assessment types. I am going to move off of me and show you our presentation. Okay, I know that looks crazy. Give me a minute. Okay, does everything look good over there, Fred? Okay, good, thank you. All right, if you want to go ahead and fill in your attendance form, you can go to, it should be on the bottom of your screen as well as on the slide. It's the tinyurl.com /LPPS attendance, or you can use your phone to take a photo of the QR code and it should bring you there as well. This is for my Livingston Parish people. And this is the best way for us to get your attendance tracked for those door prizes. Who doesn't love door prizes? I'll give y'all a few seconds to do that before we get started. Okay. So I am Amanda Robinson. I have been teaching at Doyle Elementary for 12 years. This is my 13th year I'm going into. I currently teach 5th grade math and science, but I do have experience teaching 3rd through 8th, and I've even tutored pre-K through college. I am on the technology committee at my school, and I love it. During this presentation, if you have any questions you want to shout out, there's that chat option available underneath the or to the side of the YouTube video that you're watching. You could also post maybe where and what you teach. And I know this is ideas for implementing, but that was for yesterday's slide. But if you get any ideas about what we're going to be talking about today that you want to use for formative assessments, you can post that there as well. We can share our ideas. I am South Shore born, so you'll probably notice I don't have an LP accent. I am originally from St. Bernard Parish. I am married. I'm a mom of a wild boy, and I am addicted to coffee, like 2 pots a day, kind of addicted. So our overview, today we are going to do some digital formative assessment tools that you could use in your class or in a virtual learning setting. I'm going to go over 5 different ones, and I'm going to try to squeeze that into 1 hour and 15 minutes, but I cannot promise that. Each of these has a unique purpose and different options, but not all of them may suit your needs. Some of you may decide that Google Forms is great for you and don't want to touch any other ones. Some of you might decide that Insert Learning is great and don't want to touch any other ones. Some of you may decide to put all 5 of them in your lessons. That's up to you. I just wanted to give y'all some choices. And at the end of this, I have a compare and contrast chart that kind of breaks down what each one offers to give you a better idea of what you might want to go with. So why do we use formative assessments? Well, they're great for monitoring student learning and providing that feedback that students need. We can also use those to identify strengths and weaknesses and then target that for remediation or acceleration. So these are some things that you could do with these assessments. You'll notice the ones in yellow are not actual formative assessments, but these things could also be used for them as well. So pre-assessments, background knowledge, and parent questionnaires are things you can also use these tools for. Some other things in white are just the actual types of formative assessments that could be possibly used with these tools. So the first one we're going to be going over is Google Forms. And we are going to make a Google form. I'm going to go through the steps for that. You're going to want to make sure that you are logged into your Google account. So here I am twice right here. So I know that I'm linked and synced. And you're going to go to the waffle. And down below, you'll see Forms. When this loads up, you'll see some options at the top. Blank and blank quiz aren't really any different. I always just go with blank and then make it into a quiz. You could do blank quiz, but I just always use blank. So we're going to start there. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you get your form is you want to name it. You don't want a bunch of untitled forms sitting in your drive. So we'll name this one multiplication of whole numbers. I'm going to put it there for me. Perfect. And then right here, I might put some sort of description, like instructions, the standard, a concept unit, anything like that. Before I go any further, there are some settings I need to set up since I want this to auto grade for me. If this is going to be strictly like an essay type of thing, then you wouldn't need to do the next steps I'm about to do. But if you have anything that's multiple choice or multi-select, you're probably going to want to set this up as a quiz first in order for it to automatically grade for you. So we're going to go to the gear. And right here, you have a couple choices. You can restrict it to just Livingston Parish. So that means only your students would be able to access it. If you take that off, now you would be able to send this out to parents. So if you chose to do something like this for a questionnaire, you could unclick that, and then it would make a copy for parents. Again, I wouldn't necessarily suggest unclicking this if it's a quiz. I would make sure that my kids are logged in order to take the quiz. You have some other options here, like if you want to limit them to one response so they couldn't go back in and try to resubmit. You have a couple of other options down here if you want to allow them to edit or see a summary. Back up here, presentation. Here's a couple of options for you. If you're going to allow them to do another response, then this will automatically show up. You can also send a confirmation message when they're done, like thank you or good luck or something like that. If you go to quizzes, since this is going to be a multiple choice, and I know we're using the word quiz, but it is a formative assessment. I'm not actually going to put it in my grade book, but I do want it to be graded automatically for me. So I'm going to make it a quiz. And then I'm going to look at my other options down here. Do I want to release the grade to them immediately? If it's multiple choice, sure. If it's short answer, probably not, because you're going to have to go in and manually grade any short answer type questions. But if it is strictly multiple choice or checkbox, which we're going to look at in a minute, then I would immediately allow them to look at it. That way they can get that immediate feedback. You also have some other choices down here if you want them to look at missed questions and so on. So I'm going to hit save. And you'll notice that from now on, any question that I type is going to have this little red asterisk, which means that it is required by the student to answer. The next thing we're going to set up before we actually get started is preferences. While I have this tab open, though, I want you to look right here at Add Collaborators. This is what you would click on to add people, colleagues to your quiz. So if you were collaborating on an assessment to give them, that's what you would click on. We're going to go to Preferences. We don't have email through this livingstonschools.net account, so that's not really necessary. I am going to make all my questions required, and I am going to default my quiz point right here. So everything that I put in is going to be 1 point or whatever you want it to be, okay? Since this is formative, I'm not going to give it a point value because I don't want them to think that it's actually being graded. So we'll save that. All right, so here's my first question. Your first 2 questions should always be, what is your first name? And we're going to make that short answer. It says answer key right here. We don't want it to be any points. Done. Okay. Notice it's required. My next question, what is your last name? And the reason I'm doing this is so that when I get an Excel spreadsheet of all of their answers, I can sort by last name or first name. That's just a good general rule, even if you're given this as an actual assessment. Otherwise, it'll just show me their email address, and their email address doesn't even give me their first name. It's just their first initial and their last name. So let's add another question here. Let's go over some options here while we have this one open. You could import questions from another form. So let's say I looked at this one and I went, yeah, I like this question that I used on another form. I'm going to import it. And now that question is here. I didn't have to retype it. Let's look at another option. I can add a title and a description. I can add an image. Let's do a Google image search of multiplication symbol. There we go. And I'm going to insert that. So there's a picture there. And you can always move these around. So if I want to put this here and then have a question underneath it. I'll just put, what is multiplication? Okay. And maybe I want to add my question about that. So underneath that, I might have, what is multiplication? This is not a multiple choice question, so I'm going to change that. Look at these options you have here. Short answer, paragraph. Checkbox is a fancy way of saying multi-select as well. Or I'm sorry, multiple choice grid is multi-select. Checkboxes, you could have multiple select, but this is probably your better bet. And then there's things like drop-down menus, and they can even file upload something as proof. So if they had to take a picture of their work, they could save that to their drive and then upload that as proof. So I'm going to change this to short answer. Notice all of them are required. This one I'm going to have to go in and automatically grade because it is a short answer question. But this one right here, I can go ahead and set up with the answer key to show that that should be the correct answer. I can also add some answer feedback. So I could say something like, don't forget to discuss addition. Okay. If I make another multiple choice question, remember you can drag these around. There's 2 times 6. We'll do this one as a checkbox just so you can see. 12. 2 groups of 6. 15. You also have the option to add an image to the question, to the option, and that is only really available when you use checkboxes. So for my littles, if you had a question, you could add pictures as the answer options. So for this one, I want to do an answer key. And I'm going to mark that both of those are correct. And I'm going to have some answer feedback. So if they get it incorrect, it might be that they only chose one. So I might say, make sure you choose all that apply. And you can even add a YouTube video, maybe helping them with multiplication. I would actually honestly watch this first before I insert it, but just for this. You can add a link to something else too. Maybe they need to have extra practice. If they have a correct answer, you can add feedback like, great job. Right? So this is what that question would look like. If they get the correct answer, they get great job. If they get an incorrect answer, they get to watch this video. Okay, so let's say that you have gotten this done and you realize you want to add more questions, but like to another page. You're going to use this add section button. And whenever you see like section 2 of 2, think of that as page 2 of 2. So this is they're going to answer this question and it's going to bring them to another page, which is good if you're going to cluster your questioning instead of it being one long feed. Some other options to note is you can add video by searching, or if you knew the URL to the website, those things can be added to questions as well. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, great. If you ever want to know what it looks like to the kids, you hit this little eyeball here. And this is what it'll look like to them. Notice those little red asterisks. And if they hit next, they would go to the next question. Oh no, we can't go to the next question because we didn't answer these in. They're all required. Okay. Right here, you have some options if you want to get fancy with themes and stuff, but we won't be going into that. I did want to show you what the responses look like once it's done. This is one that I had made earlier. So I had a multiplication. I only had 3 questions here, your name, and then answer that question. My responses were only 1 because I did it myself. Normally you would have more than that, but this is a summary. So my 1 person, John Doe, and this would be the percentage of the class that got these the questions correct. So he was my only one. Your question. So I could search this by that. This is really good section if you have an answer, short answer. So you press question, you go to that, and then you're going to have all of these on one screen to grade. And I can always up or down the points for that. And then you can also view by individual. So this is what John Doe's answer was, and this was the feedback I gave him. At this point, if I decide that I want to give him additional feedback, I can add individual feedback here as well. So these are my choices. This is what I had put. Right here is where you're going to be able to create a spreadsheet through Google Sheets. That's going to give you all of that information in one little page. So So if you're like me and you want to print it out and look at it and put it in PowerSchool, that way you can. Here's all my questions. Normally these names would all be listed underneath here. This right here, remember how I was telling you? First and last name. It's still creating it. If I want to look at things by first name or last name, and there are a bunch of names here, it's going to be listed by timestamp. But what I can do, it's giving me a minute. There we go, working. So I can click right here. I'm not sure what did that. Come on. Let's try this one. And you can sort by from A to Z or Z to A. And that'll put all the names in order that you want them in. All right, so let's look at what that looks like in a classroom.
On phone, how do the kids view the comments and the feedback from the teacher?
Good question. In order to view the comments, they would have to click back on the link that you sent out. So you would just say, hey, go back and look at your feedback. And they would just reopen that assignment and it'll show them the feedback that you gave them after you've graded it. If you set the feedback up, when you made it, it'll be automatic. But if you want to go in and add feedback to them later, they would just have to reopen the quiz basically to see it. Good question. All right, so I am in classwork and I am going to create an assignment. This may be under a certain topic for you when you get this done, but this would be, I don't know, let's say that this is for 10th and this is my formative assessment. Click add. It's going to be in your Google Drive. If it's not in recent, you can search for it. That's the beauty of giving it a title. So here's the one I want. I'm going to hit insert. And there it is. Grade endpoint means it's going to go to the grade section of Google Classroom, but I'm not actually going to be putting that into PowerSchool if it's a formative assessment. You can assign it to more than one class at a time, or you can even assign it to just certain kids in the class. Point values up to you, due date. If you want to add that to a certain topic, like I want to add it to that day, that's fine. In case you didn't know something up here, you could assign it immediately, schedule it to go out on a certain day, or just save it as a draft and assign it another day. I'm going to assign it. So here's that assessment. So when the kids open this up, they're going to see their topics, they're going to see their assignment, and they're going to click on this, and they're going to go to view assignment. It's going to look a little different on the teacher end, but they'll see this. And all they need to do is click on this, and it'll bring them to that form to start filling out. Just like this. And you can add, they can decide if they want to do that if you have that set up that way in the settings. Okay. Do we have any questions about Google Forms before we move on to one of the other 5 things? No? Okay. All right, I am going to close that. And I know that looks weird, guys. I'm sorry. If you need help with Google Forms in the slides, there is a link to the Help Center as well as the Beginner's Guide to Google Forms. We are going to move on to something called Socrative, which is something I have been using for years before Google Classroom even existed. And the main reason I chose it was because it was quick and it didn't require any sign-ins for kids. So Socrative is easy 4 steps. You create a quiz, you launch the quiz, you tell them your room number, and then you look at the report when they're done. You do sign up for free. I signed up through my email address. When you go to Socrative.com, it will look like this when it decides to load. Unknown error. And here are some options as soon as you get in. You have quiz, space race, exit ticket, and then you've got quick questions. Quick questions is if you decide on the fly that you're going to send something out to them, like right then and there, okay? Quiz is something that you've already made and you're sending out. Space race is something you've already made and you're sending out, but this is more of a game format. Exit ticket is actually set up by them. So there are 3 things to an exit ticket. Let me show you what that is. So an exit ticket is going to have the same format. The first question that Socrative is going to ask them is, how well did you understand today's material? And then it's going to say, what did you learn? And then you are going to put a question up on the board or project it or say it. And it'll say, please answer the teacher's question. So this is like the simplest exit ticket that you could give because it doesn't require you to actually put any questions in. You can just verbally say a question. And they know that they need to answer that question when they get to number 3. Okay. So the other options, we talked about these 2, and then your quick questions. If you go to quizzes, here are some quizzes that I made. I'm going to make a new one. I can also import. So if I had another teacher's quiz somewhere, I could pull hers in, or I can choose from Excel and download a template and put my questions in that way. I'm going to start from new and give it a title. Let's go with division this time. And I'm going to choose a question. Let's go with true, false this time. I'm just going to type my question in. Is 6. Oh, you know what? We've got that button here for math. Oh, no, I don't. They used to offer it. Sorry. Is 6 divided by 2 equal to 3? Answer is true. I can add an image here if I wanted, and I can even add an explanation. Don't forget to think about repeated subtraction, something like that. And then I'm going to hit check. I can add more questions if I want. I could copy this question and then just change it for the next few if I wanted. And I don't have to keep going with true, false. I can go multiple choice or short answer even. I'm going to save and exit. Quiz is saved. Here are all my quizzes. As you can see, I've been using this for a few years. When you go to set up your class, you're going to automatically be given a room number. So mine was Robinson, and then there were some numbers behind it. So when I go to launch this quiz, say I'm launching this one, I'm going to hit next. Here are 3 methods of delivery. This first one allows the students to answer in order that you have been given them, and they cannot change their answers, but instant feedback is provided immediately, okay? And then you can look at the results in live view. Students can answer questions in any order for open navigation and then change their answers before finishing. So that's up to you. If this were a formative assessment, I think I might go that route. I mean, they're learning from their mistakes. And then teacher-paced, excuse me, is you control the flow of questions and then monitor them as they happen. You can skip or even revisit questions if you want to. So let's go with open navigation, and then you've got other options here. Do I want to require their name? Do I want to shuffle the question, shuffle the answers, show a final score? And these options are going to change depending on which one you choose. So let's say I go with open navigation, and then I hit start. So what's going to happen is let me show you. I'm going to tell my kids to go to Socrative.com, and they're going to have the student login right here. All they're going to do is put in Robinson and then that number, and then they're just going to type in their name and get started. They don't have to have a Google account. It's pretty quick and easy, okay? No required login. Now, once I get that progress from those things, I'm going to hit finish. It's important that you hit finish. Otherwise, when you bring it up for your next class or you try to do it with another class, it's just going to keep adding to that, and you don't want that. I do want to show you a report. So I'm hiding names, but these are answers to that one question that I had. Okay. And then I could even click here and get a whole class Excel, individual student PDF. So like each kid's answer on a PDF, or even a PDF for just a specific question. You can get it emailed to me or download it. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we said that we had another option here, which was space race. And let's go with this one next. What's going to happen here is it's going to put them in teams when they log in, or when they do that Robinson, whatever your room number is. It's going to put them in teams. You can choose how many teams you want to put in. You can have it auto assign them into teams, or they can be given choice of which teams they want, what team they want to be in. And then there's different icons for that. You can even have a countdown. Oh, not a pro, sorry. As well as some settings over here. And then once you hit start, the kids will go in. Depending on what you chose here, they'll either choose to be in a certain team or they'll be put in a certain team. And they are going to race together to answer those questions. Again, you can still look back at the reports though and see what strengths or weaknesses they had for that formative assessment, and then adjust your instruction for that. So let's see if that's all I got for that. Let's go back here. Make sure I touched on everything. Got that done. You cannot put images from like a Google search like you can in Google Form. Your images have to be on your computer, and then you upload them to the questions. This is some information on that in case you need to look back at it. And you can show their final score. There's the thing on the exit ticket, log in. And again, if you are finished with it, you want to make sure you hit finish so it doesn't keep going. When you look at your quizzes, you also have the capability of copying it for different classes. So if I wanted to give this quiz to 3 different classes at the same time, let's say, I could copy it, and then they would each have a different one to go into. I can download the actual questions as a PDF, but it would be blank. So if you needed something to hand to somebody in class, as opposed to maybe the computer's not working that day or something, okay? And then share a quiz. This is not to share to your students. This is to share to other teachers so that they could import your questions into their quiz. We talked about reports, and here's a website link for support on Socrative. Do we have any questions, Mr. Fred?
No.
Okay. And I know that looks crazy. All right, the next one is Padlet. You can sign up for a free account. However, the limit on Padlet is 3 assignments But you can always save and export your reports for those and then delete them and then make new ones, okay? What makes Padlet different is that you have a lot of capability in terms of what you give them to look at in order to answer the question. But it is not really multiple choice or multi-select. It is pretty much just short answer or explanation, okay? And I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's an example of one that I did in class. It's like a quick bulletin board for questions. So students and teachers can give immediate feedback, like I can hit like on an answer, or I can rate it, I can put a comment. The kids can comment on each other's answers. They can like, they can rate, okay? So in this example, I asked, how would you solve blah, blah, blah? And they started to put in their answers. I had to block out their names here, but then they went back and started rating each other. So it's almost like a peer critique on did they include enough information in their explanation, things like that, okay? So we're gonna make a Padlet. I have 3 here. I think that one was shared to me. Let's see if I can make one. It's going to boot me out. All right. So you have different choices here for how you want your bulletin board basically to look. It's kind of think of this as like one of those parking lot questions. You remember when they had like the question parking lot in your classroom where the kids could put sticky notes up about questions for things, or they could put sticky notes up about answers. Think of this as a digital sticky note bulletin board. But you do have some cool options here like a map, a chat-like environment, grid, even a timeline, a canvas where they can order things and put arrows. I'm going to go with strictly a wall for this one. And it's going to automatically put a picture back there. That looks delicious. I'm going to change the title right here, and we'll put fraction. Sorry, guys, I love math. And then a description like, what is a fraction? Description is usually where I put my question. You can add an icon if you wanted. If you want to pick an emoji or something. Right here, it says copy to clip, but you could change this to something easy, like maybe I want this to be fraction. That went away, so let's try a different one. Fraction 2020. No, that one must be taken as well. Let's try fractions rock. All right, well, obviously all the ones that I keep picking aren't allowing me to do it, but you would be able to get a unique link that you could change up, but all the ones I'm picking obviously are taken. So I'm just going to backspace that and leave it the way it is. Okay, so appearance. I don't like this picture because it's making me too hungry. There, that'll work. You can even add your own. So like the one I showed you on the board that I had, I put in a photo of a bunch of fractions and I asked them about addition with fractions. So you have choice. You can just go with solid color too. You got font choices, attribution right here. This is some things you want to think about before you go on. Do you want to make sure that the kid's name is above their post? Where do you want the new post to be? Do you want the people coming in to comment? You have to think about your kids when you make those decisions, okay? Do you want reactions? Like, do I want likes? Do I want votes? Do I want them to grade each other? Okay, things like that. And then depending on your maturity level, do you want to filter profanity? Do you want to require approval before it goes up on the board? Those are all things you might want to consider, okay? Once I've got all that figured out, I'm going to hit next. and start posting. And this is where the kids will hit to get to put an answer in, but you could even put something yourself. And look at all these choices I have here. I could record audio. I could capture video of myself and put that on there. Google search, all of these things are awesome, okay? And then you've got other options just right here. A link. Maybe I want the link to be, I want them to go read an article about fractions and then come back and answer, use that information to justify their answer. I can add files. You have a whole lot of options here. And when I'm ready to send it to them, I'm going to hit share. If you invite members, those are teachers, not kids, okay? So if I add a member, I'm adding a teacher to my Padlet. The privacy is set to secret. I can change that if I want. I would probably keep it to secret. And then you can just simply copy this to a clipboard and send it out that way. Or you can share it through Google Classroom, email it. You can even embed it, get a QR code. You can export it, save it as an image, a PDF. And when I say export, that means when all the answers are done, you can have a printout of every kid's answers on a page or save it as a PDF and hold on to that to look at later, okay? When the kids are done, you can either clear all of this out and start over for another class, or you can just hit remake and then have another one for the next class, okay? Your gear will get you back to what you want to change. And here are some ways to invite people and export, archive, things like that. Do we have any questions about Padlets, Mr. Fred? Any questions? Okay. Oh, one more thing. If you click, oh, where'd that button go? Close. Oh, clear all posts. You can also do that if you want to start over with another class. And you'll lose your answers and stuff, but if you've already saved them as a PDF or printed them, then you won't need that anyway. See, it's a good thing I had that slide up. All right, if there's no questions about Padlet, we're going to go to formative. Moving along. This is called formative, but it's actually at the website called GoFormative.com. It's free. You get unlimited formative assessments. You get real-time student responses, basic grading, and you can give feedback. It does have basic Google Classroom integration as well. The neat thing about formative is that it auto-saves every second. So a kid can log in and back out as many times as they want, and their progress will not be lost. And then you can also view their responses instantly. So this is just a quick video on how to add students from Google Classroom. You're going to go to Classes and then Google Classroom Sync, and it's going to allow you to import any classes that you have. I'm not going to show you this from my point of view right now because I don't really have any students at the moment. So I did include this just so you have an idea of how to do that. It is not necessary to do this, though. You could simply put up a code and the kids would just put the code in and answer from there, kind of like Socrative, where they don't have to go into Google Classroom to access it. Padlet's the same way. They don't have to go through Google Classroom. Okay, so let's take a look at some formatives. So I'm at GoFormative.com. And if at any point I'm going too fast or too slow, please let me know. once you get into GoFormative, you have your formatives, your classes, your tracker, and your library. If you choose to do Google Classroom Sync, you got this. You've also got Clever Sync. The parish is going to be using Clever, so that might be an option for you as well. We have actually been using Clever for a while. If I go to formatives, I can create a new formative. I did want to show you some possibilities here. Here's one that I had made on an animal cell. I have the picture here, and then I have like a question about it. What is the center of a cell? If you click this little eyeball, just like in Google Forms, you could preview what that looks like to the students. Okay, so that's just one possibility. Here's another one on food chains where I inserted a video that they have to watch and then answer questions about the video. They have a pretty solid library that you can choose from. So if you want something to just look at and kind of get some ideas, or you just want to steal and reuse, that's fine too. I'm going to start one from scratch just to show you how to do that. So I'll go to New Formative, and right now you can see I'm in the edit mode, and I'm going to click Start or Add. This is another cool thing about formative. You're going to add content, and then you can add types of questions. You can also enhance a PDF doc or Google Doc. So you could add a PDF in there and then put questions on top of it. Okay. Or you can grab items from the item bank. We're going to start with one from scratch. Here are my add content options. I know most of this looks pretty familiar. This embedded one is pretty cool. So if you made something in Flipgrid, let's say, or Edpuzzle or something like that, you would be able to put that assignment into this assignment and then have them answer questions based off of it. That's pretty amazing. Images, text box, videos, whiteboard is going to be just an actual whiteboard, and they could write on it. How cool would that be to show work, right? So let me delete this one and go back to starting from scratch. Okay, so I could show work for a problem on a whiteboard and then have questions for it or add any of these things to it as well. So let's go with, let me show you embed. And I'm going to go to Flipgrid. I'm a little bit off on a tangent here. Just bear with me. I just wanted to show y'all how we can incorporate the two. Slow internet. Okay, so you see this button right here for your Flipgrids? If you copy that and then paste this in here, there's my Flipgrid. And then I can have them answer questions about it. What did you learn about stars from your peers? They would have to answer a question on Flipgrid. When I'm done with that, I want to make sure I have a title. Remember, it's auto-save, so it's done. So I'm ready to go to Assign. Here's that option. If you had Google Classroom, you would pick Assign to Google Classroom. I didn't set mine up, but you can just assign to guest students, and then they would put in a code. So I'm going to go to Assign. See this guest code up here? So my kids will go to GoFormative.com/join and just put this code in, put their name in, and start answering. And that's it. You could link it, send it out to Google Classroom, or even embed it as well. And then I'll just wait for the responses. And when it's live, it'll show up right here. Let's see what another one. Some other responses look like. So this is what responses would look like. You could go to Tracker and then Formatives, and you can look at them that way. You can even export your results to Google Sheets or a spreadsheet. This is just a little quick GIF to kind of show you how to get to those things. Here's that export button. And if you have any need for help on GoFormative, there's a website for that, as well as some directions for adding students from Clever. Do we have any questions about Formative? Okay. Wow, we are on track. All right. I was worried we were going to be behind. I have one more to show y'all, and it is save the best for last kind of thing. It's my favorite to use in science. It would also be really helpful in ELA or social studies where we have to read articles, okay? So this is called Insert Learning. It is actually a Chrome extension that you can get, and mine sits right up here. Excuse me. You can add it to Chrome for free. The only downside is that the kids will also have to add it to Chrome as an extension in order to access it. And you will also have to require Google Classroom Sync in order for it to be used, okay? But I'm about to show you the potential. Are we ready? Look at this, guys. This is just a website and inserted questions immediately in the website. And then you assign it out to the kids, and the kids read the article from the website and answer the questions right there on the website page. Pretty cool. So these are some directions on how you would add your classes. So you would go to Classes. I'll show you what that looks like. It booted me out. Let's log back in. You get 5 lessons for free. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. So right here in Classes, hit New Class, create a class, and then you would import your kids from Google Classroom once you have children. Okay. You can also enroll in someone else's class if you wanted. They also have a public library. So notice these are all website articles with questions embedded into the website. So kids just click on the link It brings them to the website, but now there are questions and information in the website for them to use. If you go to resources, you can even find content. So if you don't know where to start to look for something for an article, you can start here. Keeps asking me to sign it. There we go. So say I wanted to find something on food chains. I could look through these articles and pick the one that would be best for my kids and then start from there, okay? Here are a couple of lessons that I already have. Let me show you what this one looks like. See how it brings me straight to the website? So I sent this out to my kids. This is an article. And if you haven't looked into wonderopolis.org, it's pretty awesome, especially for elementary. It's got things that are already highlighted with definitions. I didn't do that. It just came like that. And now it's going to load the questions that I had into it. So this is what it'll look like actually for the kids, what I'm showing you right now. No, that one's not because it's showing the answers. Let's see if I can get student view. Okay. Well, from the teacher view, you can see what the correct answers were. But right here, I can hit view all responses. I did to give this out to my kids. I'm going to quickly get rid of that so you don't see names. But those were the responses. So after I've assigned this to my kids, I can quickly just click that back in that assignment and see, or you can go to reports. All right, but we're off on a tangent. Let's go back to how to create one. So the first thing you need to do is actually just look for a website that you want to use as an assignment. So right up here, I found one in Wonderopolis that I liked on food chains. And I'm going to show you what the article looks like before we even get started, okay? So this is everything that this has to offer. I like that it's got this and it's hyperlinked. That's pretty cool. Yep, I think I can do some stuff with this article. Great. So all I need to do now is press my little Chrome extension. And over here on the side, this magical box opens up. Okay. And I'm going to go through here, and let's say that I want them to really understand or notice this sentence. I'm going to highlight it. Maybe I want to enter a comment about that, like, don't forget to write this down. Okay, you can always change the color of the highlighter and stuff too. Let's say that I had them read this and I want to insert a sticky note. I'm going to insert it after this paragraph. You can paste anything here. I could put a picture of a food chain. I could put in a YouTube video on food chains. I can embed a code from Flipgrid or Edpuzzle. Anything can be put right here. I can even record video of myself talking to the kids. Could be anything as telling them that you need to make sure you do this. That would be right there for them to watch in the middle of the website, guys. Come on now. Let's say I want to put a question about photosynthesis. I'll hit the question button. And I'm going to put it right underneath here. You got choices. You can start with a stem, a question stem. Oops. Come on. Oh, it's popping up slowly. Maybe I just need to hover. There you go. So you can pick from one of these already pre-made question stems, or you can type your own in. What is photosynthesis? Could add point value to it. If it's formative assessment, probably not, but we actually did use this webpage for actual assessments as well, especially when it came to like, if you're familiar with CER for science. Okay. If you want this to be multiple choice, you'll type back in here and put things like process plants use to make food. And all I'll do is hit enter and it gives me another choice. Process humans use to make food. And then right here, all I'm gonna do is just click the correct one. And then I just keep moving along and add things there. Some other options are from right here, from the extension, I could go ahead and assign it to students. I could share this out to teachers. So if you have a co-teacher that you are planning with, if we wanted to view it as a student, notice they don't have all the options I do. They can't put in their own questions, but they could take notes on sticky notes. So this is what it looks like to them. They see this highlighted. They click on it and it tells them, hey, don't forget to write that down. They watch my little video. Maybe because it's still loading. And then they can answer my question for me. Oh, nope, you got that wrong. Try again. Oh, okay, there you go. And then if I go back to teacher view, view all responses. So I got that answer wrong. Oh, look, I can provide some feedback right there to that person. Read the paragraph above the question. And then when they reopen that, they would see that feedback. Some other things you could do, we don't really do this in elementary, but you can insert a discussion. So you can put in a topic and then they can add to it. I would probably do this more on Flipgrid for my elementary kids just because it's a little easier, or maybe even Padlet. But this is definitely an option for your older students. All right, so let's say I'm back at here. And this is just Insert Learning Dashboard. You can get to it from clicking on that, or you can just go to insertlearning.com. So right here, say I've made one, but I don't want to assign it yet. You could go into Insert Learning and then assign it from there. You could move it into a folder, share it with teachers and stuff as well. Let's go to the actual website again. I just wanted to show y'all one more time how to get those responses. It's loading, I'm sorry. So it's not really going to give you a report per se, like you might have in the other ones, but it's going to give you your responses nonetheless. So go back to no, let's go down. So again,
we have a question. Jessica is asking if it was difficult to get a student access to mailing.
Using this? No. The more difficult part was getting it put on as a Chrome extension for my kids. I had to walk them step by step to put that extension on, but you literally just send the link to them and it opens it up just like this regular article, and now they just have stuff they click in. As long as they're logged into their Google account and they have the extension there, it's not hard. at all. It knows and picks that up, that it's that person. So it just records their answers based off of that. Not hard at all. This is one of the easier ones for me, and it's got so much potential. So let's go back. Right here in grades, if you're in insertlearning.com and you hit grades, so I can select the question. Let me get one that's got answers to it. And then you would be able to see the kids' answers that way as well. I think I have a picture of that in here. So you can create 3 ways. You can just use their library. You can find content on your own and add questions using that resources tab, or you can just start with any website that you liked and start adding activities and questions to it. We talked about how to find content. We talked about how to make one from a web page. We talked about the buttons. This one will allow you to also assign from right there. So that IL button allows you to assign straight from the extension. And just a note down here that your students have to, A, be enrolled in a class in Insert Learning, which you can import from Google Classroom, and B, they have to have the extension up here. It is possible for them to add the extension. I had my kids use it last year. It was not difficult once I got it installed. It was more about walking them through the process of adding that Chrome extension. That got my nerves in a little bit of a tizzy. But after that, we were perfectly fine. And here's an example of what the reports look like. This is what it looks like from the website when you're looking at responses. And this is what it looks like it from there as well. And you can add feedback from that. Or if you go to the grades tab, you can submit the grade straight to Google Classroom since you're linked to that, or you can download it and print it. And here's the Help Center if you have any questions on that. If you click on this in the presentation, it's going to force copy It's going to force copy a document. It's a Google Sheets compare and contrast of all of the things that we just went over today. So kind of gives you the lowdown on which ones require sign-ins, which options each one has. Can you add video? Is it compatible with Google Classroom? Does it provide instant feedback? So you might want to look at that to determine if any of these fit your needs. And I'm going to give y'all a couple minutes if you have any questions. If you don't, the tinyurl.com survey is up there. LPPS Tech Week is also a QR code. And before I let y'all go, I'd really like to say thank you for attending. And I hope that everyone has a manageable school year. And that we will get through this together regardless of the circumstances. So I'm going to wait a couple minutes in case we have any questions. But other than that, I just thank you for your time. And I thank Mr. Fred for being my moderator. I really do appreciate his help. You can always email me with any questions if you think of something later. I'm free. I'll be free to answer anything as well. No questions? All right, guys. Well, I thank you for your time. And again, I hope you have a great school year. Bye.